Welcome to Stand Up for Doctors. I'm your host, Kim Downey. Thank you very much for joining us. This channel is dedicated to amplifying the voices of doctors, other healthcare professionals, and patients as they share their unique struggles, triumphs, and passions. My mission is to build connection and create advocacy for healthy doctors, driving positive change that benefits both doctors and patients. This is a space for everyone who cares about the future of healthcare. If you appreciate this content, please like and subscribe now. It really helps the episodes reach our target audience. And I would like to welcome Melissa Cohen and welcome back Dr. Michael Hersh. Thanks for joining us today, Melissa and Michael.
Thanks for having me.
So excited to be back here. It's always great to chat with you, Kim.
I
And nice
always,
to meet you, Melissa.
yeah.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm excited for this.
This is going to be fun. And by way of introduction, Melissa Cohen is a personal branding and LinkedIn strategist. She helps you to build your brand, find your voice, and build your business. She's an Amazon best-selling author, the good witch of LinkedIn, and a LinkedIn top voice. So we are really excited for this. And Dr. Michael Hersh is a full-time practicing gastroenterologist, founder and CEO at Better Physician Life Coaching, and he's a trauma-informed professional coach. And today we'll be talking about everything LinkedIn for doctors.
Woo!
I couldn't be more excited about this because it was only a couple of years ago that I was semi pulled onto LinkedIn by a friend who was telling me that there were tons of doctors on LinkedIn, and I thought, like, no way. Like, LinkedIn is not a place for physicians. This is all, for like people in corporate culture to find new jobs. And I very carefully kind of inched my way onto LinkedIn, dipped my toes in the water, and found probably one of the most supportive physician communities I could have ever happened to have found. And it was all on LinkedIn. And I have been all in on LinkedIn since then. So I'm super excited for this conversation.
I love that so much. So I also joined LinkedIn officially. Well, officially I joined it in 2008, but I never did anything with it. In 2008, the startup that I was with lost their funding, went Chapter 7. And I said, oh, I should go to LinkedIn because I need a job. But I was super fortunate. I actually went back to a previous employer. I was only out of work a couple months, never did anything with the platform. 2020, a little bit of a different situation, right? Lost my job, pandemic. I live in New York City, which was hit super hard by the pandemic. And I had the same impression that you did, Michael, right? Like, oh, LinkedIn is just this dry, boring place where you post your resume and then you disappear when you have a job. And I couldn't believe the community that I found there and the support that I found there and how different the platform was from what I expected. And so it literally it changed the whole trajectory of my career. I say with no irony, it changed my life, and it really did.
Well, since you both have shared your stories, I'll share mine as well, which of course it is related to Michael. And he had been coaching me for a few months, and I was trying to make an inroads with my local healthcare system. I wanted to find a way to support my doctors, and I didn't know how to do that. And I asked him, I said, could LinkedIn be helpful for that? Because again, I had my kids made me a page in like 2009 and I had less than 150 connections, none were doctors, and I never went on it. And had you just been new to that for like a few months, Michael? Really? Okay.
Yeah, it probably was like 6 to 12 months, when you and I had that conversation.
Okay. So then he said, yeah, that he was finding it, to be supportive. So I was like, so I went on and then I was trying to connect with him and I didn't even know how to make a connection. So he's like, well, you click the three little dots and then it's like, oh, I'll just send you a request. So we went from that to then I remember he had maybe a few hundred and we were both so excited when we hit 500 connections. And then now I have like over 12,000. So this is in the last 2 years. And it's just been, and then again, it changed my entire life too, because now Michael just shared a post today about, well, you could share what your post was about today.
Yeah, so it's kind of talking about community and the impact of community, and it's kind of what I was just mentioning, which is that when I found LinkedIn, I found this incredible supportive community of people. I started using parts of my lunch hour to connect with other physicians. We'd have Zoom calls while we ate lunch together, and these kind of random online LinkedIn connections where we kind of met in the comments section turned into real life connections where Kim has even created meetups where she is getting, she has met so many of her LinkedIn friends in real life. And I love that. And so just the importance of community and how we can find it in so many different places.
And
100%.
yeah, and that's why I thought it was great to have Michael on today because it's because of him. And I've met, I think, like 27 doctors and a dozen other people. And then this Saturday, we're having the LinkedIn, the rooftop gathering in New York City, where we'll have like 20 of us are going to get together. So without further ado, if there was anything, Melissa, that you wanted to share to get the conversation going, and then Michael and I probably both have a list of questions, but I'm going to let Michael take it from there. And then if we need to have a part two or something, we can do that another time.
No, ask away. I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I think Kim, you were just alluding to, I think, a question that we all have. We know that LinkedIn, all of the social media platforms are consistently changing their algorithms. Are there any best practices, things that, if you are on LinkedIn, you should either absolutely be doing or absolutely not doing? Sometimes that's even more important.
How long you got? We might need a part two. No, so first of all, yes, the algorithms are always changing. And I think LinkedIn in particular, is very opaque about their algorithms because they don't necessarily want people to figure them out. I remember I have a very bad time with remembering time frames. So I'm going to say maybe about a year and a half or 2 years ago, there was an interview with Dan Roth, who's the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn, with Jason Pfeiffer from Entrepreneur Magazine. And he made a comment that a lot of people, really took note of, which is that LinkedIn is not built for you to go viral. They actually don't want to see people going viral, and that they actually view that as maybe something is a little bit wrong with, like, why is this post going viral, right? And that was super interesting. They really want people to build their voice over time. And I actually appreciate that in a lot of ways. Um, and I will also say as a business owner who uses LinkedIn for my business, likes and impressions are not dollars, right? I don't get paid by the like, I don't get paid by how many views. So it's really about those relationships. It's really about those connections. So best practices, I would say from a content perspective, the number one thing I tell people is be consistent. And that doesn't mean you have to post every day. In fact, I tell my clients all the time, unless you love creating content and unless you really enjoy putting that content out there daily, don't. Because I'd rather you post twice a week and you do twice a week every single week than you get all excited out of the gate. You post every single day for a month and then you're like, oh my God, I hate this. It's way too overwhelming. And then you disappear for 6 months, right? That doesn't serve anybody. So consistency is really key, whatever that looks like. And then, Michael, you really touched on it. So I'm a big Dan Roth fan, right? The editor in chief of LinkedIn. He was on a webinar and he said something that I'll never forget, which was content is king, but comments are the keys to the kingdom. So it's really all about commenting. That's where all the magic happens. That's where all the interaction happens. That's where you start having these conversations. And then ideally, some of those move to a DM or to an email or a virtual coffee or a real life coffee, right? And so nothing makes me happier than on one of my posts to see like multiple people having a conversation together. that just makes me happy. So that's definitely a best practice. When you get a comment on your post, respond, ask a question, say thank you, but try to drive some meaningful dialogue and leave comments on other people's posts, right? And not those great post, thanks for sharing, the stuff that looks like it came from AI. Really take a minute to put some thought into what you're sharing. Um, and then from a content perspective, look, I just think there's best practices overall, right? Try not to be overly polarizing. That doesn't mean you can't have an opinion. You should absolutely have an opinion and you should be very comfortable sharing that opinion, but polite discourse is a dying art, right? So don't get confrontational, don't get aggressive, be open to a dialogue. I really think that that's a little bit lacking today, and shutting down anybody who disagrees with you just kind of is not a good feeling. LinkedIn is really a platform of generosity. And I like to always go into LinkedIn with that mindset.
Hmm.
I'll also just kind of comment on what you were saying. When you can provide an insightful comment in the comment section, for me as a content creator, sometimes I'm like, oh, that was really good. I'm going to make a post about this comment.
Yes.
And so it can actually really help with creative flow using, somebody else has a thought or an idea. You have a comment on that thought or idea that then becomes, kind of the seed for your next, push into content. So, I agree with you that, the thank yous are nice. Thank you for this post. That's a comment. And if you put a little bit more into it, a lot of times you're doing yourself a service in the process because then you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I could really expand on this for myself.
Absolutely. LinkedIn tells you that, right? It'll say, turn this comment into a post, right? And you're like, oh, interesting. So that's a great point. You are doing yourself a favor too. Now, unfortunately, it says that under every comment, including the thank yous. So be judicious with where you take its advice.
Well, I would like to compliment on Michael that when people comment on his posts, he very faithfully replies with thoughtful comments, and on other people's posts, he always does put very thoughtful comments. So I know when I put a post, I'm going to see that little face, your icon thing,
Yeah.
with like like very consistently with like a really thoughtful comment, and it's nice to be able to look forward to that, like that we support each other. There's a group of us and it just happened organically that we support each other. So just one, I know Michael probably has a lot of questions. Is I have a question about vacation. So I just went on a 2 week vacation, and I decided not to post at all because I do post fairly regularly. At least once, twice, 3 times a week, and then if I have more things to share. So I decided that I was going to take a vacation and not post or comment on anything. And I was wondering, so then, but there's people like Michael or some doctors that regularly schedule their posts, right, to go live certain days or times. So even when he's on vacation, they still go live. But if you don't want to be checking all the time, because also I heard that you're supposed to like babysit it for an hour, and if you don't keep responding for an hour, LinkedIn downgrade your post. So if you could speak to all of that, because what if you're on vacation, is it better not to post or to post but not comment, or what's your thoughts on that?
It's a super personal decision. I would say if you're not going to be able to engage at all,
Hmm.
don't post. Just I would make a post and be like, I'm taking a break for a week. I can't wait to see you all when I get back, right? You can also, if you have premium, I believe this is a premium only feature. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you can also set an away message on your DMs so that if somebody sends you a DM, it tells them that you're going to be away. Um, you should absolutely engage with your posts. The old like babysit it for an hour or an hour and a half, it's a little outdated. And at the same time, it's a little bit true, right? I would not ignore the post for hours and hours. But, I think we all used to be like very obsessed about, oh my God, the first 90 minutes, I have to respond to everything super fast or nothing good is going to happen. And like that's not necessary. I do try to engage a little bit early on. Also, I'm very prescriptive in when I post. So I post at 7 a.m. every day, 8 a.m. on Sundays, because I know that's when I have time to engage with whatever comments I get, right? I'm going to sit there probably on my couch with my laptop with a cup of coffee, and that's actually a really fun time of the day for me. Um, so I would say, listen, if you're going to be digitally detoxing on your vacation, do it. Don't worry about it. You're not going to be away for 2 months. LinkedIn will be here when you get back. Enjoy your vacation.
Well, thank you, Michael. You can go ahead.
Well, yeah, and I think it's also the balancing of the consistency versus the commenting. And I think we actually had a little bit of a discourse about this on LinkedIn over the last couple of days, which is when we take that digital detox, there's actually a little bit like you feel guilty
Yes.
because there is
Yes.
this community that we have
Yes.
built and we want to be showing up. And so I'm okay if somebody posts something and they're on vacation and I will still comment and don't expect a response back. And I think again, it's however it goes. I think it's
Yeah.
fine. I guess I was curious about, it seems like LinkedIn has been kind of veering more toward boosting posts in much the same way that other social media platforms have used, where they want you to pay for views and impressions. Do you have any thoughts or about that and the trajectory that LinkedIn is on with boosting posts?
Yeah, so here, this is really funny, right? So I'm a top voice, right? I have the blue badge. Everybody thinks that like I have special privileges. I don't. Um, I can't even boost a personal post right now. I don't have that option yet. It has not rolled out to me. It has rolled out to people. It's rolled out to friends of mine. I I don't love it. I'm just going to be honest. I don't love it. I like that LinkedIn is a little bit different from some of the other platforms. I like that LinkedIn feels a little bit more organic and a little bit more authentic. One of the reasons I believe that company pages don't have the organic reach that personal pages do is because they want you to pay for advertising, right? They figure you're a company, you have some marketing dollars, you can pay. I don't want to see that happening to personal pages. Um, and I'm not sure how wide scale they want to roll that out, how much revenue they think they're going to get from it. I don't love it. I really don't. I don't have a problem with paid partnerships. Like I've done a couple of paid partnerships. If it's a brand that I really agree with and I support their product, I support their mission, I like what they're doing, as long as people are honest and authentic about, clicking paid partnership and saying it's an ad, I don't have a problem with that. I don't really love the boosting personal posts. People have asked me if I would ever do it. And I would say 95% of the time, no. Like maybe if I had a truly special event or offering or something that I really, really wanted to get in front of as many people as I could for a very specific reason, I would consider it. But otherwise, I wouldn't want to do it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I have a question about resharing posts because sometimes I've even reshared like some of Michael's thing. I'm like, wow, that's really good. And I feel like whenever I reshare something, or like I do a lot of collaborative Kevin MD articles, and sometimes like I write the post and then, my collaborator shares it or vice versa. And I feel like whenever I reshare something as somebody's, it seems to get way less engagement.
Yes. So unfortunately, when you repost something, you have two options, right? You can just hit repost and it just goes. Or you can reshare with your own thoughts. And then that's when you're typing some stuff ahead of it. Unfortunately, LinkedIn does not prioritize those reposts with your own thoughts. They don't do as well in the algorithm. They don't do as well. Um, and I find that sad, right? Because I think that when you do that, you're doing somebody a favor, you're doing somebody a service. So reposts will always benefit the initial poster. So if you repost something of Michael's with or without thoughts, it helps him. It
Okay.
sends that signal to LinkedIn that, oh, somebody found this valuable enough that they want to share it. But then if you're adding your own thoughts to it, LinkedIn just prioritizes original content over reposts. So if that matters to you, just repost without your own words, right? Just hit repost. You're still doing the favor to the original creator, but you're not creating a post that then just doesn't go very far.
Interesting, because I would have thought the opposite, that it would be more likely to get engagement if you added your thoughts than just repost this, repost that. So that's interesting to me that it's actually the opposite of what I thought, but thank you. Okay, your
Yeah.
turn, Michael.
Well, before I ask a question, I was just going to kind of make the implicit explicit here, which is that Melissa, you were mentioning that personal pages are going to get a lot more traction than business pages. And what I've seen some people do is make posts from their business page and then share it to their personal page. But to the point of the conversation that we're having right now, it always makes a lot more sense if you're looking for organic growth to have your primary post be your personal page and then to
Yes.
repost to your business page. It's not going to hurt your business, and you're going to get a lot more organic traction if you are posting on your personal page and then reposting. Do
A,
you, do you agree with that?
1,000%, 1,000%. And I'm going to say sincerely, people want to do business with people, right? So somebody is going to work with an organization because of the person who's the face of it or the person who's the most out front. They want to know the people that they're working with, right? I have a company page. I've never posted a single thing from it. The reason I have it, sincerely, is because I didn't want my company logo to be little sad gray bars. I wanted it to have a real logo. That is the one and only reason I have a LinkedIn company page. You'll never see me share anything from it because if people hire me, it's because they like me.
Mhm.
I love that you named that because Kim and I had a conversation about this. We were talking about my business page, and when she asked why I set it up, it was for the exact same reason. I just wanted my company logo, and I didn't want that, like, I don't even know what that weird gray background with maybe a white mountain or some blank space that I was just like, yeah,
Sad gray
that's a
bars.
great reason.
Yep.
That's funny. Do you have another question, Michael?
Let me think. In terms of connections and building community, we talked a little bit about, connecting with people in the comments. Um, I was this was probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, politely shamed at a physician coach conference where they were looking at my LinkedIn profile. And I had another physician coach say, gee, for as active as you are on LinkedIn, you should have way more connections and followers. And that was, it was meant in the kindest and most generous way of saying you need to be promoting yourself more. And I actually took it as that and went out and really started to connect more and meet more people. And I was wondering if you could speak to what have you seen as the most efficient and productive ways of connecting and following and building your brand on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure. So, like everything, everybody has a different opinion and a different school of thought, right? And there are people who'll be like, I don't want to have a huge number of connections. I want to personally, know everyone I'm connected with. It's really what works best for you. To grow your following, to grow your connections. So first of all, I make LinkedIn my digital business card, right? So I was at an event last night. And if I met somebody who was interesting, who I wanted to stay in touch with, I said, hey, are you on LinkedIn? Yes, I am. And use the QR code. So many people don't know that we all have a built-in LinkedIn QR code, and they're like super impressed when you pull that up. They're like, oh my God, how did you do that? Show me. And it makes you a little bit memorable. And then right away, that's a connection that you have on LinkedIn. I belong, as I'm sure many of us do, to a whole bunch of different groups, right? Leadership groups, networking groups, I'm in like women's, advancement groups. If I'm on a Zoom call and I think people have something really interesting that they shared on the call, I'll just take a note of their name And I will reach out on LinkedIn and say, hey, I really enjoyed what you shared on the call today. Would love to stay connected. I also encourage when we're on these calls, if somebody doesn't suggest it, to just say, hey, why don't we all drop our LinkedIn in the chat if we want to connect, right? And then you save the chat down and you can go back and look through them later. You don't have to do it live on the call. I just always view, I think LinkedIn is a virtual water cooler. It's a virtual Starbucks. It's a virtual networking event. And so whenever I am somewhere, either physically or remotely, where I'm meeting people, I always think about how do I want to take that relationship to LinkedIn, right? Which I know sounds crazy, but you actually can really build a meaningful dialogue on LinkedIn. And then maybe, it does go back offline. It does become that virtual coffee or that in-person meetup. I view everything as an opportunity to connect on LinkedIn.
Can you speak a little bit more on that QR code? Is that in the app or because I'm not sure
Yes.
I know about this.
Yes. Okay. So if you open your LinkedIn app and you click in the search bar, this little thing pops up in the right-hand corner, which just looks like four little squares. Click that and your QR code comes up.
Amazing.
Right? It's so fun. And they moved it too. So one time I went to do it and I was like, oh my God, what happened to the QR code? And then finally I found it. So that's where it lives right now. It's super fun. And yeah, people love it. And then they want you to show them how to pull it up on their phone. And then it just becomes this instant conversation starter.
It's like a party trick.
It is.
So that is now, instead of business cards, I have these, and Joshua Kenny made these for me. And it
Oh,
has my
fun.
LinkedIn, the QR code, for my
Yes.
Substack newsletter, and my YouTube channel. So I'll be bringing
Yes.
these to the rooftop gathering.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's all about the QR code.
I have another question about more than one post a day. I never plan on doing that, but say I've already posted and then Kevin MD shares like, my newsletter, a podcast, and I want to add something that day. I've heard that if you post like the second thing, that it negates kind of the first thing, that then people don't see the first thing you posted, or that LinkedIn doesn't like it if you post more than once a day. What do you think about that?
So LinkedIn constantly changes its rules. It constantly changes what happens. My opinion as of today, is that if you post two things in a day, you will suppress the reach of the first thing that you posted a little bit because LinkedIn is always going to prioritize newer content. That doesn't mean don't do it. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's what's your priority. If the first thing that you posted that day is something that you are super passionate about and you want as many people to see as possible, I would say wait until the next day to post something else. Give it that full 24 hours. If not, and this new thing is really important to you and it's important from a timing perspective, go ahead. You will diminish the reach on the first thing a little bit, but it's all about your priority.
These things are so great to know. Michael, do you have any other questions?
Something else that Kim and I were chatting about recently is there was somebody else who posted on LinkedIn about outstanding connection requests. So you have sent a connection request to somebody who has not responded.
Hmm.
And the more active you are on LinkedIn, the more connection requests you send. It's really quite incredible how those can build up over time. And somebody else posted that if you have more than, I believe it was 100, that it actually suppresses your reach of your individual posts. And so Kim and I both took that to heart and went ahead and deleted a whole bunch of pending connection requests to get that number down. Is this something you've heard of before, and do you have any thoughts about it?
Um, People will definitely say things like that. I have a lot of pending requests because not there's so many things that come into our inboxes, right? There's the connection request, there's the event notifications, there's the newsletter signups. I have definitely heard people say that. In my personal experience, I haven't really seen that happen. Um, but I listen, it's a polite thing to do to like kind of clean out your inbox, but at the same time, like if you're not going to accept it, it doesn't really make a difference. What I find is that sometimes I go through and I'm like, oh, wow, I meant to accept that and I didn't. And so that's why I try to make sure, periodically to go through just to sort of catch those that I missed. And I think that that's a question I get asked a lot. Like, should you accept every connection request? Is it rude if you don't accept a connection request? Um, I don't think you should necessarily accept every connection request, right? And this might come across sounding a little not nice, which is not my brand. My brand is very positive and very welcoming. If I think at this point, being really, really active for LinkedIn on 5 years, I have a good feel for certain things. And if I think the minute I accept that connection request, you're going to pitch slap me in the DMs, I'm not accepting it because I've been at that rodeo too many times and I'm not interested and let's not waste one another's time. Um, I don't think you have to accept every connection request. I think it's fine to let people follow you. If someone's interested in what you have to say, they can always follow your content. And listen, they can prove over time that you should accept their connection request, perhaps. But I think, we all have a pretty good feel for when it's just sort of like a sales pitch waiting to happen, or there's just something, right? There's just certain profiles that you can tell there's something very off about them, right? And you don't really want to accept that.
Hmm. I love that you talked about all that because I also had Michael. That had been my very next question as well, because it tends to be a lot of work. Because like Michael told me, you can help more people, the more people that know about you, but just making the connections. This takes an hour or so a week, right? Just like sending all the connection requests. And then if you're going to go and delete the ones to keep it, say, around one or 200, then that can take an extended period of time. So how do you even manage, like, is it a good idea to send, because I'm I stand up for doctors and I want to help doctors and I want doctors to know about me, but to send all those requests like every week is quite time consuming.
So if I'm going to send a lot of connection requests, first of all, just be careful because LinkedIn is an interesting place, right? It's a platform that's all about connection. And yet it will penalize you if it thinks you're trying to connect with too many people too quickly because it thinks you're using automation, right? I've seen this happen to people. But if I'm reaching out to a number of people for the same purpose, I will use the same message, obviously with a different name. Make sure you change the name. But if it is because we attended an event together, I will just have that message ready to go. Hi, Kim, it was great meeting you at the summit yesterday. I would love to stay connected, right? And so that can make it a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, a little bit more efficient. I do like to add a personal detail to that whenever I can. So if they said something of particular interest at that summit, or if they spoke on the panel at that summit, I will add that in there. But that sort of core message, I'll copy paste. I think it's worth the effort to send the connection requests because that's what LinkedIn is all about. But do them in small groups. Don't do like a big number all at once because it does sometimes raise some red flags with the system.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I knew this would go so fast, and we're
Oh my
winding
gosh,
down. So I know. So I think we may have to do a part two. So
you
we'll
got
close
it.
now, and we'll talk about that. But I always ask how our listeners can get in touch with each of you.
Oh, well, for me, you can come find me on LinkedIn. It's absolutely the best place.
Sounds good. I will include that in the show notes. And how about you, Michael?
Same, same, same. LinkedIn is my preferred social media platform. So you can find me, Michael Hersh, MD, on LinkedIn. And then also my website, betterphysicianlife.com. Yeah, but yes, LinkedIn for sure.
Okay, well, I will see you both there. And thanks again for being my guests, Michael and Melissa. This was fantastic. And in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.